Right. Start the share. Maybe Namaste, everyone. Um, this is going to be a whole lot of different things. Buddha and Jain Dharma. Today, we are only going to be covering Buddha because there is a global perspective and there is a lot of politicization of the subject. So that's the reason that once I started, knitting up everything, I realized that it is going to be too long. So we start with Buddha, and I put down under the umbrella of Sanatana Dharma. This is the key word for the whole thing. All the Indic traditions, Bharatiya traditions, they are all dharma, Buddha Dharma. So if anybody is saying Buddhism, is equally wrong as Hinduism. And similarly, if you say Jainism or Sikhism, that is again, it's not a one book thing. So it's from Sanatana Dharma, if you remember in the beginning, when we were talking about the Hindu Dharma, the umbrella, and I showed a entire Sanatana Dharma and various traditions which emanated from it later on, because it's a freedom of thinking and resolving the conflicting ideas and coming to some conclusion or not even coming to any conclusion. So all these freedoms means that different paths will emerge. And when somebody says Khalsa Panth, Panth is the Sanskrit word path, path, and English word is also. So you can say path, Panth, or path in English, which is actually a Sanskrit word. Okay, so let's begin with some of these things. Okay, Gautam Buddha. So two new traditions emerged from the Vedic Dharma, birth of two great sages. They were thinkers, reformers, and they had a different kind of focus. It was one person is not talking about the entire Sanatana Dharma or all the Vedic teachings or beliefs. They are just focusing on two or three things. And they are not diverting or digressing from that particular path. It does not mean they do not, they have erased from their mind all the other paths or the totality of the cosmos and the Prakriti. It is just that they are focused on how to improve our living. So founders are the fourth and fifth largest religion. So Buddha Dharma is fourth and Jain is fifth. Gautam, everybody knows he is son of Shakya Muni. This was a small kingdom under Magad, and Kapilvastu was the capital of that. This place is near Gaya. Okay, in the map, everybody remembers. Gaya is there today also. It is in Bihar. Siddhartha was a Hindu prince from the Solar dynasty. This is what he says himself in one of his Surya Vanshi, and Ram was Surya Vanshi. So astrological predictions at the time of his birth indicated that he won't be continuing to be ruling as a king, but he will renounce the world. To avoid this, the king tried that he should keep him away from the outside world so that, there is absolutely, he's surrounded by luxuries and that is his world. And the rest of the world is also in the image of the environment created in the palace. So And he even got married at a very young age. He had a son. So the idea was that he should be leading a just life, and he should be groomed for being the next king. So new words, let us see, Sanskrit synonyms and Pali words. Some of them, by this time, when Gautam was born, two new derivatives in languages emerged. One was Pali and the other was Prakrit. Prakrit later became Pariboli, which means it is with a little distortion, upbranch, distorted version of Sanskrit. So that is Prakrit. Straight away, without grammar or without the verbal endings, proper verbal endings. So Prakrit was, by the time Buddha was there, Sanskrit was only the language of elitists and the teachers and the Raja, the king. So, but rest of the people were speaking Pali and Prakrit at the same time. This is important to mention because this is how gradually we move away from the parent language, Sanskrit. So that emancipation does not mean that you run away or get a. It is liberating yourself. Nobody else is emancipating you except you yourself. Renouncing, okay, material possession. That astic is a believer. Nastic, not talking about the existence of God. Now, this is another very interesting word. Gnostic does not mean that he does not believe in anything, the existence of any divinity. It means that he is not talking about it. Gnostic is a person, he is not professing outwardly whether this is what he thinks about the divinity or not. So Gnostic is different from the word the Charvakas. Charvakas question the existence of God. So there's a difference between that. And Dasik especially doesn't mean Shunyavadi. Shunya is zero. One cannot have believe in nothing. There is something to anchor on. So Shunyavadi is not the meaning of Nastik. Niyam is laws, Nyaya, justice and balance. Bhikkhus, those who beg for some sustenance. And this is again, bhikshu is the actual word, and bhikkhus is a Pali word. And bodhisattvas are the saints, lamas, high priest of Buddhists. And then there is a word they have used. Mara. Mara is like all the negative forces. It's a word like death there. You see, a person who is negative vikaras. He is a tamsik vritti, ignorant, in the grip of illusion. And all those forces are called Mara. Mara is actually the derivative or upbranch of Maya. Those who are in the grip of Maya and they are in the delusional state. So we understand that these are original Sanskrit words. It's not that these are invented by Buddha, a whole new language. This is how gradually the pronunciation changed and got simplified. So path of self-realization. So everybody knows his encounter with the real world. One day he was going in his chariot and he saw suffering in that place, Kapilvastu. And he was surprised. He never knew about it and never was confronted by this reality. So he continued questioning. And he was surprised that people are this miserable. He was curious that why he was never acquainted the other side of the or the majority part of the reality. So in Deer Park, and uh, Deer Park is in Uttar Pradesh, and he located a Buddha tree. It is now called Bodhi tree. He sat under the tree, and he said that I must find uh, the state of enlightenment where I can find how to avoid suffering. Now, you see, this is the focus. What Gautam Buddha was trying to do, how to avoid suffering. That's it. So, whether there is a God, there isn't a divine, or what is the path of finding the divine, that was not his goal. His quest was how, if you are born, naturally there is suffering, how anyone can avoid that suffering. So, all of this I'm mentioning that it is in India, and that Bharat, Uttar Pradesh and Bihar, and Sanchi is in Madhya Pradesh. That is where he finally uh, got Nirvana. So all these places are in India. And the reason why this is important to know, those people who say that he was born in Nepal, he was Nepalese, and then he was tribal, and it had nothing to do with India at all, and he was not Hindu, and that kind of. So everyone should remember, all these places are, yes, he was born in Lumbini, but then Nepal at that time was part of Bharat. It's only when the British came they separated it. They knew that eventually they will leave. They started gradually separating Burma, separating Nepal, even Tibet and Afghanistan, making the line. So this was at that time, Nepal was a small place, but the whole range of lower valleys of uh, Himalayan range, all those small kingdoms, Janpadas, they were called Uttarpat, like, from the north of the Ganga Valley. So Siddhartha becomes Buddha, and then his quest is to find the nature of Brahma. He finds that how I am related, and can Brahma remove my suffering? So, how to emancipate from suffering and desires? The pattern of discourse. Again, this is an Indian tradition, Vedic tradition, that when you are having an idea, you mull it over, bounce it back and forth with other scholars, and you come to some kind of conclusion and find a resolution. So that tradition continued. In that very condition, with that facility of freely discussing the approach how to avoid suffering, that itself was the same as in Vedic tradition. And that is how Buddhism, Buddha Dharma, spread. So I'm just going through you can probably find this more or less correct if you search the internet. But still, the wheel of dharma symbolizes spiritual journey of a person. So it is one part. Remember the swastika? Swastika is a total journey of one death followed by birth, then followed by death, and then for. So that is a continuum of circular motion of reincarnation. And here it is one portion of that journey, how to awaken your inner discernment that you can find what is right and what is wrong. It is called, Sanskrit Vivek, and English is discernment. So the wheel turns through one's karma, trying to make a deeper connection to the divine. In other words, becoming more inclined through your own karma, though. It's not a renunciation. He himself found all this knowledge and enlightenment by meditation. But karma is still the way to avoid suffering. You cannot be doing anything just by sitting down, cannot survive. So, through one's karma, trying to make a deeper connection and trying to find your own, avoiding extremes of everything. So, his four noble truths for what is suffering, very basic question, origin of suffering, extinction of suffering. And this is an interesting part. Noble truth of the path leading to extinction of suffering. It's not only once you find suffering is there, and this is the origin, and then there is extinction possibility, then now the question is how to find that path leading to extinction of suffering. Not understanding or realizing these four things, we all go through rounds of birth and rebirth. So in other words, we are moving in a circular way, evolving or going down, evolving and going down through our karma, birth after birth. So ultimate idea is the same. As in Vedic Dharma, it says moksha, the same as nirvana. So how to find nirvana? It is getting out of the human cycle of human birth. So he laid down five niyamas, five ways of doing things, niyam. It's again Sanskrit word. Uttu niyam, what is the material nature? Law of physical matter. So physics, chemistry, metaphysics, unless you know that, you don't understand your own place in the Prakriti and how you can interact with that Prakriti in a positive way. If you are destroying, sitting down under the tree, and limb by limb you destroy the tree, then you are hurting the environment. And that is where the law of physics, physical matter, knowledge is essential. It's not that you are having no knowledge of the physical world. Bij niyam, law of living matter. So it is life science, the molecules and all that kind. Karma niyam, law of karma, activity and transformation. It's theory of karma, the action, reaction, synthesis, and how the whole thing continues in a spiral kind of way, where one thing leads to another thing and reaction, and then further resolution, and then again reaction, the whole thing. So, Kama Niyama, Bija Niyama, to mean material nature, law of living matter, Kama, karma, Dham, Dhamma. They pronounce it as Dhamma, Dharma Niyam, law of natural phenomena on spiritual level. Occurrence during Buddha's birth, gaining of enlightenment, his passing away. All this is part of the Dharma. It is niyati. It is a cosmic law. That which is born has to decay and pass away. So that is Dhamma. Chaitanya, law governing consciousness. This is extremely interesting phenomenon. Unless that means consciousness as Chetna was very much part of Vedic traditions. You cannot escape by just giving a simple word like psychology. The other day, I was looking at one of the books uh, that my kids studied. It was Origin of Consciousness by somebody, Origin of Consciousness. And this is taught to the medical students that consciousness was matter acquired consciousness 3,000 years back. What was happening before? Where was the consciousness? Without consciousness, even the bees don't react to the fragrance of the flowers. Every response is through the sensory perceptions, which are absorbed by the mind, which react with the cognition. So our entire body, the pain is, the hurt is here, but consciousness is, the pain is there. The mind is sensing that there is a pain. So the consciousness is, so I was really, later Shankaracharya also used this part. Chitta is the most important law governing consciousness. So these are five neons. And Buddha sermon, this is uh, I could not do the Sandhi of Vichhed. It is Dhamma, Chaku, Vatana, and this is Sutra, Sutta. So Hindi word Yoga Sutra is a Pali word Sutta, Vinay Pataka Sutta, and like that. So the objective was avoid suffering, centered on the Four Noble Truths, teaching doctrines about enlightenment. He chose to prescribe a path of practice, simple path. So he questioned the benefit of elaborate ceremonies, which many people did not understand. I mean, he did not say don't do it. He said that that alone is not sufficient. You see, going to the temple and or shrine and in, ceremonies alone without understanding, they have no, probably not any value. He questioned. He did not deny that don't do it. He did not say that. If you don't understand something, you see, the funny part is, till today, I'm talking about the reality of today, Hindus are saying that the priest is doing the prayers for us. Priest is doing the prayers for himself because all the chants which he is saying, they end up in the first person verbal ending. If he's saying Namami, then he is doing Nama. And we are chanting, thinking, unless we chant it, it has no meaning for us. So 100 times or 100,000 times, as you recite the mantra, Mahamritanje, in the end, the Pandit is doing for himself. So that is why he questioned that elaborate ceremonies and common people moving away from Sanskrit by this line, they will not understand. So he said that both extremes of austerities and overindulgence in pleasure, they are bad for in the karmic evolution. These virtues are listed under three headings: training for attainment of wisdom. You can see that right views, right intention, right resolve. So, attainment, what is wisdom? Training for moral behavior, right speech, right action, right living. Now, define right. You see, he says right speech, right this, and then training for meditation, right effort, right recollection. All that is accumulated in the consciousness or in the layers of the brain, you recollect and absorb it and practice it. So now, where is the key? Right, right, right. What is right? This is the answer. Avoiding the extremes of austerities and overindulgence. It is the same as the five vikaras that Sri Krishna elaborated on. The key word, right. What is right? Avoiding extremes of. So in the entire slide, the importance of what is right is this. Attainment of liberation. So this is more or less the same. We can go over it one more time. This is literally the same as in Vedic Dharma. And you remember, path of purification. So you have a bath, you have a free mind, pure mind, no negative thought. Morality is social behavior. Path of purification is personal growth and cleanliness. It is a person's. It is social parameters of social behavior. Renunciation is renouncing certain aspects of social life which are harmful, which generate negative vibrations. We don't want the negative vibration. So restraint here means, renunciation means, try to avoid. So if we really listen to this and practice it, renunciation means no television, no radio, no internet. So that is renunciation, because that can be false information and leading to illusion. So unless you are really able to discriminate and you have a prior knowledge of what we are talking about. Restraints such as non-violence. Okay. Middle path and Dharamdas Lakshana. This is the same. Dharamdas Lakshana, austerity, tapa, and control of mind, control of the indriyas, attainment of wisdom, knowledge, desire for moksha, all of these Dharamdas Lakshana. This is repeated by Manu, and this is also absorbed by, focused by in Buddha. Maryada and Sanyam, they are fundamental. So Buddha used Samana and Brahmana interchangeably. So it doesn't mean that a Buddhist saint is Samana and Hindu saint is Brahman. He used it both ways for sages. So, and for these, he also used the word Arhat or Arwa. This Arhat later on, Jains also used. So Buddhists, like the Hindu belief, karma, cause, effect, reincarnation, yoga. Yeah. Now, in practice, simple living, fasting for cleansing, prostrating in front of vigrahas. And I'll show you pictures. They say that there was no Murti Puja. That's wrong. Without Murti, there is not a single household where you don't have a picture of your father or mother. Murti is there. That image, whether you have in a physical form or in your mind, or you make a sketch of it in any way, abstract or otherwise, it is there. And you offer your respect. So lighting the lamp at home and in monasteries, and generally cremate their dead. There are places where cremation was not done because the wood is not there or the conditions are such. So because of these similarities, Hindu Dharma gradually absorbed and Buddhist nearly, became a minority in India. There are some places like parts of UP and Himachal Pradesh where those people who were the Tibetan Buddhists after communist takeover, and they came places like Bajnath and Dharamsala. The Dalai Lama came, and all of them. But basically, why in the southern India, why the Buddhists could not gain a threshold? Because once they started having fish and meat and having a married life, then Hindus said that what's the difference? Violence is there against the animals. And why, if five M's are not followed by the Buddhists, then they're basically what any ordinary Hindu is. So this was one of the causes. So similarities. Again, it's the same thing, butter lamps and contrasting colors symbolizing life. You see, dark and vivid use of vivid colors are used. Offering to the monks or to the devas, fruit, clothing, money. Fasting, again, Buddhist, intense meditation, chant prayers and mantras. Uh, uh, the simple one, Buddham Sharanam Gacchati, that I am going to. So the main deva now becomes Buddha, where I am going. I am going to his Shara, seeking his blessings. Now the language is slightly different, but basically it is a derivative of Sanskrit, and both the intention and the content of the mantra is nearly the same. So Buddhists from Tibet, Nepal, Eastern Himalayan regions offer elaborate prayers in front of the statues of Buddha and Bodhisattva, those who were renowned saints. And I'll show you at the end, because right now different aspects are being considered, and the pictures, they will distract from the main theme. The Buddha's last words. He obtained Nirvana in Sanchi, in Madhya Pradesh, near Bhopal. And there is about 2012, right? 13 years back, Madhya Pradesh decided to have a Sanchi University for Vedic, for Dhamma Dharma. This was the name, inclusive of Vedic Dharma. And I remember I attended that, and the keynote speaker was the Prime Minister of Sri Lanka. So, and his last word, be an island to yourself. His disciple's name was Ananda. Be refuge to yourself. Seek the solution from within. Do not take yourself any other refuge. See truth as an island. See truth as a refuge. So, again, he says, it is in the very nature of things that we must eventually be parted from all that is near and dear. Does that mean that he was Shunyavadi and he did not believe in the law of karma or reincarnation? For how, Ananda, can it be otherwise? Since everything born, evolved, and organized contains within itself the germs of disintegration. I mean, I have yet to see in English Western philosophy this thing, that our own body material form has the germs of disintegration. That is why all these sayings, they call it holistic, because they are not a reductionist approach that you isolate and talk about chemistry now, and now you talk about physics, isolate each discipline. So our Dharma traditions have holistic view. Everything is knit together, affecting each other and interacting with each other, including the Prakriti. So how can it be otherwise then that a being should pass away? No other condition is possible. So I mean, at my age, I should also be looking at this every day. That this is germs of disintegration are there. No other condition is possible except death and disintegration. So it's a state of samadhi. Now, this is what he meant by island to yourself. Go inwards and block the entire material world, and all blank the mind also, undisturbed by tribulations and agitation and emerging desires. So this state of samadhi is what he says, island to yourself. So some parallels, it was very clear, there were all the parallels there. Here is what Buddha said. All that we are is the result of what we have thought. The mind is everything. And Sanskrit saying it, yad bhavna tad bhavati. What's the difference? Not at all. Ideas about heaven and hell. So, I don't remember what the Bardo experience was. Why did Buddha and his followers use Pali? Because that was easier to understand. And Karam Yoga and Buddha's advice on Sthit Prajna, focus. So Bhagavad Gita, all these verses are talking the same thing. So Vedic traditions and Dhamma are the same thing. So pluralism and inclusivity, both these traditions, umbrella tradition believes in pluralism. You have your own way of thinking. Make your own choices. Use the philosophic tools for both traditions. Discourse, debates, and wisdom of Devi Puja. This was something I did not understand till I read a book by one of the Sherpas who was son of Tenzing Sherpa, the first one to reach Mount Everest. So his son became the Sherpa again, and he wrote In My Father's Soul, a book. So when I read that book, I realized that Devi Puja is very essential for the Tibetan and Nepalese. Probably it is equally important in other, because the other day I was looking at Devi Puja in Thailand. So elaborate, colorful, that kind. So ancient names and Buddhist names, Devis for them is feminine forces. Girija is Parvati, Hindus. Sagarmata in Nepalese. Neolang Sangama of Sherpas. These are all names of Mount Everest. Also known as Chamurungama, Longama, Sherpas and Tibetans. And we have 16 Devis, sometimes we say 9 Devis. So, delinking Dhamma and Dharma. Now we are talking about modern days, what politics is playing here. Every time they mention something good about from Hindu philosophy, they say, Chinese Buddhist part, or they assign it to Confucius said. And bottom line, Socrates said. Okay, so do what you can. If you are really looking to counter them, there's no platform. They make the allegation, they set up the narrative, and you have no choice, no platform to disagree or voice a counter argument. I've gone through that experience also. So, look, if you remember the map I showed in the last one, Mahabharata map was the same as 2000 years later. Kapilvastu is in Nepal. No. Were there any boundaries in the map showing Uttar Path, a different place? No. You see, whoever controlled the other Janpada, the boundary of his kingdom shifted. So it was a fluid kind of thing. Not a physical boundary, but like kingdoms, that now our kingdom extends to this place. Was Shakya kingdom a part of the Magadha Empire? Yes. It was all in India. In modern day Bihar, Madhya Pradesh, Uttar Pradesh, and Gaya, all of these places where he moved around. So, King Shakya was a Hindu. Siddhartha was a Hindu prince. And where is the issue? So, now, this is the new narrative created. And I encountered that. I was amazed how fanatic they were in isolating Buddha Dharma, Buddhism from Hindu Dharma. So their premises, he was a tribal, not a Hindu. His father was chief of the tribe. Had nothing to do with India or Magadha. His path had nothing to do with Bhagavad Gita, Vedic tradition, as if he was born out of, in a vacuum state of thought process. He revolted against caste system. I don't understand where does that come from. Oppression of women, other minorities. You see, all these extensions. Where does Buddha say that? Preached against the Hindu practice of animal sacrifice. First of all, we don't have animal sacrifice. Yajna ceremonies are there. And their renunciation of all that you have, possession, even your own self. So these are made up categories assigned to Hindu Dharma. And then they say Buddha rose above those kind of viciousness. So in their mind now, in the Western mind, monks are like saints of Christianity who lived as celibates in the monasteries. Okay. Shila, which is a bedrock of Buddhist ethics, written down edicts of Dharma, they are called Shila. They say this is same as 10 Commandments. For example, his emphasis on right action, right living is the same what Moses said in his sermon. Moses said in his sermon. What does that mean? That Moses said and Gautam Buddha followed. So suggestion that Buddha borrowed from Moses. Moses himself were very little known about him. And whatever construct they did of 10 Commandments, that was prominently coming as an oral tradition because there is no language in which it was written down. So you shall not bear false witness, 10 Commandments, everybody knows. And during Christmas, everybody sees the movie, 10 Commandments. So in order to accommodate these erroneous generalizations, they had to have a stretch of imagination to move Buddha much later and move Moses little, predate Moses and post-date Buddha. That is how the chronology was altered. So they are all using the modern map of India, where Nepal is separate, Burma is separate, and like that. You see, they're talking about long time back when India was an Indian subcontinent, and then they are bringing it. So it is creating a narrative, assumptions, and then plugging uh, some truth, facts about Gautam Buddha. So misconception, European historical cultural scenario. So scientific thinking versus blind faith and hearsay. You see, never had witch burning, we never had inquisitions, we never had torture chambers, we never had any schism, a conflict created deliberately to weaken um, any group of people. We never had that kind of. So this illusion is created by the Western mind that Buddhism or Buddha, yeah, they call it Buddhism, is superior to Hinduism. And it was a reform movement. It is a reform movement in the sense that instead of indulging in ceremonious kind of celebrations or traditions, sometimes it is better to be with yourself and do simple things in the right way. And this, all of this. This is the misconception. Now, I met three persons from American academia. So this was the encounter. Personally, I submitted the paper, and the people who, whatever I have said in before, that was written as Buddha Dharma and similarities with Vedic Dharma. So it was a 23-page paper, and that was to be teaching for 2 days, gathering of teachers. It was a teachers training session in 2010. So my paper was reviewed by three people. Two of them were PhD in education. So since I don't have PhD in any subject, so I was not considered scholar enough. And one of them was from China. He was an archaeologist. Now these are the people who reviewed my paper, and they crossed it. Three wheels of Dharma, which is the symbol of Indian flag even today. So spiritual journey a person as a whole, you know what I said, I wrote before, crossed. Four noble truths crossed. Thus it has been said by Buddha, enlightened one is through not understanding, not realizing, but finding it in yourself and living the noble truth. They crossed everything. The path of purification, morality, renunciation, all of it crossed. Niyamas, 5 names, crossed. Huh? And Buddhists from Tibet and Eastern Himalayan regions elaborate prayers in front of statues of Buddha and Bodhisattva crossed. Monasteries are there, Buddhist temples are there, they have gilded figures, and they crossed. Okay? Then they generally cremate their dead. Crossed. Buddhism also almost disappeared in India because it became quite similar in the minds of the people. And Indian languages moved away from Sanskrit. So they could easily absorb these ideas. So all of this paper was crossed. Now, Buddha's followers did not think of him as God. You see, Buddhism is non-theistic philosophy and religious. It does not posit an absolute or a creator and believe that all things are impermanent. So they put down that. And then down the centuries, three main sects emerged: Mahayana, Hinayana, and Vajrayana. And they crossed that. Those three traditions are still there. And they crossed that. And they wrote, no, no, no. So they say, and created a prior incarnation of Buddha. No, this sect started making temples vihara. Absolutely crossed. Prayer hall were called chatyas. They are still called chatyas. If you ever go to Ratnagiri or Ajanta caves, they are called chatyas, small little caves. So most of the temple today have Buddha as well as statues. They are there. So the third tradition, Vajrayana, who practiced Tantra, crossed. Idea of yoga and meditation have been integral part of Hindu Dharma, and so was for the Buddhists. Crossed. Now, after crossing everything, they wrote down this. Please be very careful in comparing Hinduism and Buddhism. Quotes below, like Buddhism is not different from Hindu religion and Buddha never tried to replace it. His enlightened path of virtues is so similar to Manu's 10 principles of righteous action, thus Lakshman, that one can trace his Vedic roots as a Hindu prince are very Hindu-centric. If he was a Hindu prince living in Hindustan, and I am explaining his life and his philosophy or darshan, where is, how can you be Eurocentric? How can you explain Buddha and be Hindu-centric? Has to be Hindu-centric. So he was a Hindu prince born in India, also known as Theravada tradition. This also works. Whereas Theravada tradition is still there in Tibet. So you can understand what we are up against, what they are teaching in the books, and what reality is. These are two different things. And it is like the blind following the blind. So when I explain these things um, in the school settings, going to different schools, the question automatically is who is right? Is Mrs. Kapoor right? Or all the books they are reading by this PhD, that PhD is right? So who is creating this divide and what is the reason? In the beginning, I said that 300 years of distortions in Indian history. Victims not yet. Dharma tradition, there are so many victims. So Max Muller and his translations. See what he said? Mara is devil. Mara is Dati, many Dati. And actually they relate to inner Maras, our vikars, which pull us desires in different direction. So devil, no. Sudha. Sudha is servile caste. There was no caste. Shakya is a tribe. Yaksha, a giant, a malignant spirit. Yaksha is Dharmraj, Yamaraj, a giant malignant. How can it be malignant? It's giving deliverance. It is the source of giving nirvana. So why it is a malignant spirit? So historicity and nativity of Buddha. So we took from Nepali sources, Sutta Nipata. I read that. And Ceylonese have written good books. So history and historical evidence and traditions. You see, literary as well as archaeological. We have the primary sources. They are all in Bharat. Buddhist beliefs, you cannot find a divide. If you put two columns of their beliefs and practices, and on the other side, Vedic, you cannot draw any distinction. My encounters with stray scholars from language and literature, they cancelled the entire history. Now, what have they done? They made me an isolated voice. People like me, or scholars who have done original research, we are isolated, not to be given any platform, and if possible, silenced. They did not allow me to present Buddhism. They said that you present Hindu Dharma. Whereas I had gone prepared for that. And a similar kind of discussion happened with some diehard fanatics from Sri Lanka when I went to Sanchi. Everything is before you. And you are arguing that no, Bhagavad Gita is not the same thing as Sutta Nipata. I said, I read Bhagavad Gita 100 times. And I read Sutta Nipata. And their answer was that we read Sutta Nipata 100 times. Then why didn't you read Bhagavad Gita? And see if there is any conflict. So, there are distortions, certain important things you omit, certain speculative kind of narrative you insert. They have made us fools. And some of the most followers of Bhagavad Gita who are studying Bhagavad Gita and Vedanta for the last 40 years, month by month, year after year, they also use the word soul, Hinduism, religion. And every time they use these words, anybody uses these words, I cringe that they haven't learned anything. He wasn't Shunyavadi. See, all things appear, disappear because of the concurrence of cause and condition. What is this? Isn't this the theory of karma? Nothing ever exists entirely alone. See, Shunyavadi is not there at all. Everything is in relation to everything else. I mean, this is the most profound thing, so simply said. So, an island to yourself. Island to yourself doesn't mean go and live in an island like Sri Lanka. It means island in your own mind. In his conversation with Bimbisar, he gives his jati, gotra, place of birth, his ancestors, location of his kingdom, and his connection with birth. I flashed it when I was doing it for social structures in Vedic times. So that my page I flashed. Nalanda was not just a Buddhist university. They say Buddhist university. And besides, Nalanda is in Bharat. So it was a Hindu university with Buddhist studies as well. So Hyun Sang mentioned that every student has to pass the test of proficiency in Sanskrit. So how does Nalanda become a Buddhist? So some of his sayings you can find all over. Illusion, if not destroyed, becomes the reality of conflict and conversation. These are some of the quotes from Gautam Buddha. He himself says, if you don't destroy Maya, then this becomes reality. So European history of conflict, confrontation, killings, genocide, everything was the landscape on which Buddha's teachings and his life was mapped out. Conclusion. Hindus and Buddhists, some people say, the Dalai Lama said, we are two sons of the same mother. India was mothered through Buddha of the ideals embodied in Christianity. Build your earth. There is inherent harmony. Now, this is a derivative, similar to Devanagari. If it is you put the Sanskrit Devanagari script and Sanskrit, it looks very simple. This is from 18,000 feet high, going hiking from Nepal towards Kalapatthar. And this is the Devi Puja. You see? And this is the prayer to Devi. This is Devi. And you say that Devi Puja is not there. Now, this is the overall show, two paintings from Nepal monastery. See all the negative forces, species there, the person is cycle of old age and birth, and then the material world which attracts, and the cycle of growth in different species, and the negative forces, and what a person lives, childhood to young age, and all this merges in Brahma. So that magnificent force is which diverse. It's like, showing Virat. Everything emerges from Brahma and Vilay. Both Vilay and birth is from Brahma. So symbolism and similarities you can see. This is from Nepal. This is also from Nepal. That when you are in Nirvana, you are surrounded by devas. Narad Muni is there. Shiva is there. So all of these are Devaloka. Okay? And this is the same monastery. And this is Cambodia, Angkor Wat temple, Vishnu temple. Side by side, a few miles away, there are Buddhist temples. I think if anybody goes to those countries, even today, they will find that there is hardly in the minds of those people who are really Buddhist, like in Vietnam, Thailand, and all those places, you won't find that they have any kind of illusion that two things are opposite and uh, they have a confrontational relation. So this is a very recent picture about a week back. And this is Samundar Manthan in the same place, Cambodia. This is Matasir and Kurma on which it is seated. And Devas and that they are fighting. And this is a Buddhist temple in Cambodia. Bodhisattvas and this is a Buddhist, same place. And this is Vishnu in Cambodia. All the glitter and everything, vivid colors, contrasting with grays. This is Buddhist temple in Vietnam. What is this? These are Devis. This is Devi Puja. I'm really baffled by the nonsense being promoted. This is in Thailand now, Buddha. And this is the same way. Imagine this is Ram and Sita or anybody else from Indian history seated, or Brahma is there, or Shri Krishna is there. And this is the decoration and other bodhisattvas. And people are devoted. Devotees are sitting on the floor exactly the same way. I mean, it looks like a temple in my own town. And this is Jade Buddha in Thailand. Beautiful carving. How ornate it is. You see, Buddhists are simple people. They don't believe in Murti Puja. What nonsense. How elaborate can be. Okay. And this is temple in Bangkok, Buddha. And this is side by side in Thailand. Next to that temple was this temple, Ganesha. And this is Buddha in Laos. The terracotta is, or if it is stone, it is painted to look like gold. Very colorful. Contrasts, gray and gold, gold and deep pink. Laos, Buddha in meditation. This is Bodhi tree. And all these negative forces are trying to uh, pull him down away from meditation. And flowers are offered. So, by now, we come to the conclusion. A, the narrative that is taught in the schools or passed on in tidbits, that is wrong. And if you fail to tell your children or grandchildren that the reality is this, and this is the politicization of Buddha Dharma, they will understand. They will question me, are you right or they? Of course, they're going to be, because my voice has been silenced. I have not gained any followers who will echo the same thing. And I never intended to have that kind of, group following me who can pick up the podium. First of all, Hindus will argue with me and dilute it because they want to have upmanship, one up. So we don't have a platform. Social media is passing on somebody's, 1,000 times passed on message. You look at it, delete. Once you start something like, 4 minutes explanation of this picture, nobody gives comments and nobody passes it on because it takes more than half a minute. At least it needs 4 minutes to absorb. So even if you flash the truth, the negative political propaganda will erase it. And there are so many half-witted people, clowns, and different type of PhDs, PhD in literature, social work, and anybody, because they have written doctorate. That is your task. It is not just learning something. The idea is promoting and countering the negative. So I'm done. And now, if you have any question, we can have.
If anybody has any questions, please ask Kamlesh ji. Okay, Gurinder ji.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, Auntie G, how's it going?
Hi.
Yeah, I know. I wanted to say this was like, I thought last week's was my favorite, but this one was. There was so much. I'm just gonna absorb it. I really It was one of those I need to digest. But I wanted to just say your email was very accurate. But yeah, I'll send more emails throughout the week, and then maybe add them this week for the discussion next time. But yeah, this one really left me speechless. Thank you.
But you understand what are the being taught, what is being taught, and how we are silenced.
Yeah, I think we're all grateful we had you in this, first chapter of, representation. But now I think like there's more, platforms and more people like us. And this room, on Zoom, I think is just like wonderful thing that I think we have because of you, and we're getting there. So it's our job to kind of keep the torch going. You made some really big shoes to fill. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. At least you will be a better teacher for your own children.
No. And I'll send you some stuff about Nityayan. I forgot the word you used, but it's something that I think it's like the rhythm of the cosmos. Nityayan. Nityayan.
Nirvan.
No, not Nirvan. It's something that like. Okay, I'll
Niyati.
send. Niyati. Yeah, Niyati. Yeah. I saw that
Niyati.
this week in social
Niyati
media.
is a
Yeah.
cosmic cycle.
Yeah.
Niyati is what is going to happen. You see, it is used in the sense that when a child is born, the time of his death and how he will go to that place where he is supposed to die is already niyati, destiny. I mean, common word destiny, but niyati is already predetermined.
I
Niyati
see.
literally means predetermined.
I see. I think I don't know if it
Niyat
was if it was the same thing, but I think they said the gods envy humans because they're not bound to nitya to this word. They're
No,
not bound to doing this, which is the difference humans have, from what I
no, they are
understand.
bound to everybody who is
Okay.
born is under the laws of niyati. And
Ah.
Mahabharata repeatedly tells everything. Everybody says to Krishna that you can avoid this war, you can stop this war. He says no.
Mm.
Niyati ka chakra, the circle of niyati, I cannot interfere. If he could interfere, wouldn't he have been, as soon as born, he would have rescued his own parents from the jail
Mm.
because it was not Niyati at that time.
Mm.
Niyati was
Yeah.
when he was 8 or 11 years old, between that time. So everybody has to wait.
Mm.
So,
Okay, you gave me more to think about, and I have more questions for you about free will, but I want to make sure other people get time. I'm sure others have questions
okay.
or feedback.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Rohit?
Yeah, so my question is, sorry I joined late. My question is speaking, just to elaborate more on the niti concept. Is it could we say niti means the natural laws?
Niyati is a natural law. It is a cosmic law.
Cosmic, okay.
Because natural law varies from planet to planet. You
Right.
see, if an
Right.
asteroid falls from this solar system on the Earth, it is
Right.
beyond the natural laws. So
Okay.
in Sushret, he says there are uh, four phenomena that from where the phenomena originate, like a tsunami is coming. So, or a child is born autistic, right? So he says Adhidhavik forces, Adhibhautik forces. Adhibhautik is natural law. Adhidhavik is universal law, which applies to all the universes, Brahmanda, that cosmic law.
Okay.
The
Okay.
beings which are coming from the stars, other galaxies, that is beyond our natural law. natural law varies from planet to planet. Besides the magnetic forces and the gravitational forces, not all the forces are found in other solar systems or planets. Or we don't know. Let's put it this way. By the way, Rohit, there was one question you asked me last time for Meshwar, Ishwar, and Bhagwan.
Yeah.
So I wanted to put it somewhere, in the chat box. Did not have to do it. The best explanation of that is in the Isha Upanishad, the very first shloka. If you, and it is free PDF, Isha Upanishad. And the very first shloka, Isha Vasyam Idam Sarvam. So Isha is the word.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean,
So-
I wanted to clarify that point, not related to the subject. So,
Okay.
what is your question now?
Yeah, so just this is just a wild speculation, totally perhaps baseless. So ish, the word ish or issue, do you think the Christian missionaries have very cleverly used that word to describe Jesus in India, or to refer to Jesus in India by the word issue?
Yeah.
Yeah, to mislead people.
Everything is so much of duping people
Right,
because
right,
we Hindus are also not knowing the correct terminology,
right,
and we don't have the idea that how comprehensive our own shastras are.
right,
Bhagavad Gita itself is psychology, physics, natural law, everything. I mean, philosophy, physics.
right,
So, how many people read it from that angle?
right, right,
Except
right.
that Krishna gave a sermon.
Yeah,
That's it. But if you go deeply, then in fact there was or is a gentleman, Joseph Campbell. He wrote about the Hindu Dharma, word Hinduism. And his very first page or second page said that I don't know if Krishna was God or not. I mean, he meant God as creator. But this book could not have been written by any other human being except God.
uh, um, yeah.
It is so very deep that you really cannot think that a human being has written.
Right,
But then
right,
he says, I don't know if he's God or not. We don't know either. At that time, he was a human being. And 37 years later, he died, passed
right,
away. Everybody died. So, in other words, it's such profoundness. And we don't know that.
right, right. Unfortunately, you mentioned something about Bhagavad Gita being this is what's the way to describe it? A book of psychology, book of a lot of things, right?
Yeah.
So it's interesting that in collaboration with a professor at the University of California in the U.S., we are exploring possibility of starting a project to actually either write papers or create a course on psychology based on Hindu scriptures and philosophy. So we'll see where it goes, but what you said gives us more confidence to just to start this project. One last point I will make, and then I'll keep my mouth shut. You mentioned about niyati. So I was reading up on a contemporary tradition to Buddha and Jainism, Mahavir, a tradition called Ajivika, and they
Ajivika.
yeah, when I read about them, it reminds me of what you said. If I understood that philosophy correctly, or tradition correctly, that they believe that nothing is in our hands, everything is predetermined, and therefore we should not even. Maybe they took it to an extreme, and maybe that and so they basically lived in caves, did do anything because they believed, strongly believed that nothing can be done by us, everything is predetermined.
No,
No?
they believed that karma should involve for our inner freedom and without any desire for more. That is why Ajivika is to support yourself by getting only that much on a day that you can consume. Because you do not know for tomorrow what's going to happen. So you don't want to amass the food for next day. You take only that much as much you need and go into it. And those ajivikas are not depending on uh, earning their sustenance. They are wanderers and they get bhiksha, ajivikas. So, in other words, they are not leading the normal life of childhood and adulthood and marriage and all that. So, and that they Charvakas were also like that. So, and those people who used to move around as bards, singing the glories of the kings and doing nothing else, they were also in the same category. So, sadhus. There was one picture I did not include in this, where people are lining up in the morning at 5:30 in Laos, waiting for bhikshus, ajivikas, to come and give them alms. It's not the bhikshu is not knocking, just as in India, they knock at the door and you immediately take food to them. Here, people are lining exactly at 5:30 a.m. And their bhikshus are coming and they are taking food and moving on. So, very interesting picture. My uh, son-in-law and my daughter, they came back 3 days back from Cambodia and Thailand. And these pictures I'm using, they are taken by them. And they sent me a whole lot, but you see, time does not permit to. And the 3 pictures which were from Nepal and Kalapathar, they were taken by my son when he went for hiking to that place. So these are all personal pictures. In other words, their pictures.
The timing is very it's perfect. A couple of weeks ago, in the U.S., on a program called Nova on PBS, they had two documentaries, one on Laos and the other one on Cambodia, and they showed the same picture. Exactly the same picture, and mentioned the same, the historical significance of the paintings that you showed. Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you for coming and listening and your views, comments that matter. And if you have any question, you can ask. If I'm not able to answer or clarify now, I will do some research. Okay, for a few minutes, that Mrs.
I think
Siddhartha was born
Gurinder
with
ji
the
has a
light
question.
as Sanatani.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Just one second. Somnath Sinha said, Siddhartha was born, lived, and died as Sanatana. It was Ananda, his disciple, who created the institution. That is correct. The person whose name is used, he himself is not saying that I am the worthy of your reverence or anything. He is putting the seed. The tree grows by his followers, but nourishing. Anything that is made up or put together will come a part of whole, yeah? Of course, real sleight of hand happens when in the Roman West grafted Jesus into correct. The stuff they call Jesus and the gospel, it is total fabrication. So there are the gatekeepers, yeah, that's true. They had to cross it, cancel culture. Basically treating Gautama as copy paste of Jesus and Moses. The West loves Buddhism for the reason, yes, I forgot to mention that part. Of course, because Buddhists are scattered and by and large they are very humble and non-confrontational people. Um, and they are scattered and they don't mind anybody's business. So it is easy to ignore them as a force and take everything that Buddha taught into absorb it into Christianity. Just like somebody was saying the other day that quantum mechanics is 16th century Christianity. 16th century Christianity was drowned in bloodbath. Where was the time even thinking of quantum? Quantum word was not there. It is Visheshika and Darshan Shastra, which explains quantum physics and quantum mechanics. And in the steel manufacturing, they use for first time the word nanotechnology. The word. So, and explained it. So you see, this subterfuge, they say that missionaries are our infantry. You see, when you are waging a war against something, you have first the infantry, like on the chessboard, pawns, and then you have horses, and then you have elephants and chariots and blah blah. So it is how they have, missionaries have a strategy, well grounded, very subtle, and there are universities. They get the ideas from you, and then they tailor it according to a Christian, equating it, actually, equating it. So there was, the other day I caught somebody, not the other day, 10, 15 years back, they were Gayatri Mantra by Jesus. Gayatri Mantra by Jesus. And where they were displaying, we asked the person organizer, who are these people? Telling Hindus this thing. They ran away. They came from India though, converting, giving the message. So this is what they are doing. And it is the same thing, buyers be aware. If we are not conscious of the fact that we are under attack and from multiple forces, then the fault, dear brooders, lies not in our stars. It is in ourselves that we are underlings. We are cowards. And we are allergic to knowledge. Okay? All right then. I guess we should fold. If there are any questions, please do not hesitate to post it in the WhatsApp. Okay? All right then. Biswajit, that's
Yeah,
it.
I think we should.
Yeah.
Gurinderji, you had something to ask?
Is there, if say it again?
Gurinder ji
Uh,
had something to
yeah. Oh, maybe related, but I felt like today I was cutting trees, and I thought that there should be a like a devotional prayer for this to be listening to. I don't know if you can recommend anything that's like a hymn to nature.
Yeah,
I feel like I should have done that before. Yeah, I don't know if you can
we can
suggest
do
one, but
that. We
okay,
can do that. I am a
okay.
Punjabi person, and my Sanskrit pronunciation accent is Punjabi. It sounds like Punjabi, but we can do that. I can do that for which gives the reality, one shlok gives the reality of the cosmos, the Prakriti, and the person. So one shlok is there from Isha. Very good idea. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay, so we'll end it on that note.
Meet
Thank
you
you.
next
Good night.
time for
Bye.
Jainism. Thank you.
Mhm.